Gaia presents Gaiasphere Event Center. Heal Conference. Activate your healing potential. Vaknine.
Hi.
Hi.
And now the journey continues with a big old dose of inspiration because I have the beautiful Vaknine here, all the way from the UK.
Thank you.
And Lauren is a true poster child of possibility and taking control of your health.
A key part came, as I said, about my wedding day when I learned about the mental aspect. I was operating from the identity of the person with dis-ease. And there's no healing from that place. Because whatever you tell your body, whatever you as the mind is telling the brain, that's going to be your truth. Now, the brain's really clever. And if you are operating from a place of fear, first of all, your energetic vibration is super low. So from an energetic perspective, you're going to be in resonance with all other low vibrational situations. Healing doesn't occur from that place. But when we're in fear, we go into fight and flight. And so from fight and flight, your body is not going to heal because you've got all this adrenaline and cortisol running around your body. And so I started learning about what it meant to rewire the brain out of disability thinking. And I started thinking from the perspective of the healthy person when I was still in the wheelchair. And I know some speakers this weekend have been speaking about it. But from personal experience of having no use of any of my joints, for anyone here or anyone watching at home who is suffering with pain and chronic illness, when I tell you that this is the key, you have to visualize yourself as that person. Your identity, and this is what it all comes down to with all the things I teach, so much of it, all of it, is umbrellaed underneath identity. If you can operate from the identity of the person who is healthy before you're there, you will start becoming healthy. Now, I always say these are the practices, right? We think the practices are preparing the healthy food and, having the tests and, doing all those things and meditating and scheduling this in and scheduling in the meditation and the breath work. Those things are needed very much. They're part of the journey. But the real work, the practices, is in the moments where no one is watching and no one can see what you're doing, and you've got Frankenstein on your shoulder telling you everything he's trying to tell you that's going to put the brakes on for productivity and healing, and you can get one over on Frankenstein and you can bring in Einstein. That willpower, no one's watching you in those moments, right? That's the practices. That's where the healing happens, because the more you start retraining your brain and you saying, I'm making a choice. I'm not listening to you, Frankenstein. I'm listening to Einstein because he's got solutions. He's a clever guy. I'm bringing him in. And if every time you go into fear and you go into panic, because that's what happens when you're in pain and you've got inflammation, that's all that's happening. You're just in fear. What's my life going to look like? I'm in pain. I can't do this. If every time you do that, you start rewiring your brain out of disability thinking. And that is the key. The last missing piece, the last puzzle piece that kind of keeps it all together for me, I like to see my spiritual practice as like the lid on a container. So you've got a container, and all the work you've done and all the work you keep doing is inside this container, right? And you're working so hard and it's all in there. But the spiritual practice, you actually spending time to remind yourself of faith, because without faith, if you don't believe you can heal, you're not going to heal, by the way, right? So that lid is what we're closing to keep everything else inside. And so my spiritual practice for me really is the icing on the cake, the lid on the container. So those were the missing pieces.
Yeah.
And I just try to always get clear on the self, the capital S self. Like, what is the truth of who I am? Because the truth of who I am, that capital T truth, is so far removed from disability, from dis-ease. That truth of who I am is the essence of who I am. And there is no dis-ease in that essence. So if you can sit in the silence every day and just be reminded of that, it's the next reminder to your brain and to your nervous system. And the nervous system was kind of a missing puzzle piece as well, because when the nervous system feels unsafe, you can't heal, because that's when Frankenstein's there. So one of the first things I always tell my clients when it comes to healing is we're going to get to all the protocols. We're going to get to all the healing and all the things you need to do. The very first thing we need to start with is regulating your nervous system. Because from a place of nervous system dysregulation, there's no healing, so that's where we start.
I think her story is so magnificent, and you're so courageous, and you're such a look at you now. I mean, this is wild. She's a completely different person.
It was all my mum. Yeah. Because without my mum's faith that I would get better, like Kelly said, I'd never known any different. It's really hard to visualize. I was 23 months when I was diagnosed, but the symptoms started a few months before that. I'd never known any different. So for anyone who's sitting here going, it's really hard to see myself going back to that, I do believe that if I can do it, anyone can do it, because I just had to visualize what it was that I wanted as opposed to what it had been. Forget about what it's been, because you're growing and changing every minute of every day, and you can make a choice to evolve. And like I said, we want to operate from the identity of the person we want to be, not the person we were. So forget about who you were before disease knocked on your door, because disease is going to turn you into a more powerful being. You want to focus on the person that you want to be after that disease leaves your body, and it is leaving your body.